Hello and welcome to the first show of the 20th season of Out of the Fog. I'm Lynn Hammond. I have three guests tonight. We're going to start with Joe Dominix, friend and colleague of Jason Piercy. Many of you would have heard that Out of the Fog host Jason Piercy has been in an accident, and Joe will be here to provide an update on how he's doing. Next, we have Ophelia Ravencroft. Recently elected to St. John City Council, Ophelia is the first transgender person elected to politics in Newfoundland and Labrador. Finally, Glenn Stanford is here. If you've been missing live hockey, he'll tell us all about the Growlers coming back to Mile 1. Join us after this break for my chat with Joe.
You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
Watching hockey just got a power play with NHL Center Ice and Super Sports Pack. With up to 37 out-of-market NHL games a week, you'll always catch your favorite team no matter where you live. Whether it's big matchups you're looking for or following your top fantasy picks, it's all here. NHL Center Ice, part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. All this for only $35.95 a month. Order through your remote on Channel 450 or call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today.
So we're missing Jason here at Out of the Fog this week, but Joe Dominix is here with us, Jason's business partner and close friend, to provide us with an update on how Jason's doing. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lynn.
So, as some viewers would know, Jason was in a pretty terrible accident about a week ago. So maybe you could provide us with a little update on how he's doing.
Yeah, so a week ago he was in a very significant accident. He did sustain some extensive severe injuries, and he is out of the woods right now, and he is more alert than he has been recently, so it's the recovery is positive, and he's responding really well to what the doctors are doing. We've been having some small conversations with him, but nothing too extraneous at this point. It's one day at a time, and we're getting through it, and he's responding really well.
And so, I know I certainly get it. Many people think that, Rogers TV and Out of the Fog is Jason's full-time job. What they might not realize is that on-air hosts are actually volunteer. So all this work that people see Jason doing throughout the year is actually volunteer. His full-time job is a real estate agent.
It is.
Of course, with an accident, this is going to have a major financial impact on him. So tell us about the GoFundMe initiative.
Yeah. So we anticipate that he is going to have some lost income due to not being able to work. We don't know how long it's going to take his recovery, but it's not going to be a fast one. So with that comes the lost income. And you're right, this is a volunteer job for him. He is a real estate agent, and one of our good real estate agent friends, Nicole Darbez, set up the GoFundMe in conjunction with the family and the rest of us. And it's been amazing, the response that we've gotten and the amount of donations that have come in through the GoFundMe.
Well, that's a part of being a community, right? Jason has given so much to so many people. It's not surprising that, people are wanting to find a way to help him too. Yeah,
he's always focused on community helping. Every story we've ever done, most of the time it's something to do with a volunteer group or a charitable event or something of somebody helping someone else. So when we see the community come together and raise this kind of money for him, the love for Jason is overwhelming. It really, really is.
And so people can it's pretty easy, right? You just go to the GoFundMe page?
Yeah, you go to GoFundMe.com, and in the search field you search for Jason Piercy. Very easy to find, and it'll show you, it'll bring you right to where you need to go to make your donation.
Or of course, just check out our Facebook page.
Facebook.
Here at Out of the Fog.
Facebook is a great tool.
I'd love it if you could come back, periodically and keep in touch. I know viewers are going to want to know how Jason's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. The family wants to send their love to everybody who has sent well wishes and donations. It means so much to know that they're thinking about him, and the family's drawn so much strength from people's support.
Well, we're certainly missing him around here, and anxious to hear about his recovery and progress.
Absolutely.
So, thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, I'm Carl Wells, getting ready to record another edition of Carl Wells Point to Point. It's a program where I chat with members of our community And they talk candidly about their lives and careers, from their earliest dreams to their greatest triumphs. I think you'll find it informative and entertaining. Please join us for Carl Wells' Point to Point, right here on Rogers TV.
It was our 35th anniversary. To celebrate, we were on our way to Mama Rosie's, where we had our first date. That's when we heard coming from the radio. So we stopped and listened. It helped us get to safety. So when I think of our anniversary, because now we have even more to celebrate.
And we're back. So, of course, we had 3 elections this year, most recently the municipal election. And my friend Ophelia has made history as the first transgender person elected in Newfoundland and Labrador. Welcome back, Ophelia.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So, 2 municipal elections for you, within a year. What was the difference the second time versus the first time?
Well,
I mean, a lot of people say you got to run twice, right? So
you do hear that a lot,
yeah.
and it's and there have been so many cases where that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
The disheartening quality of the by-election was it was easily mitigated. This was essentially just a really, really long campaign for this year.
Yeah.
And I think to have that, kind of in short order after the first one was a real benefit.
Yeah.
A lot of people were very motivated, I think, seeing what happened last time round, and were eager to make history this time. So.
Well, that's it. I mean, you really kind of sustained the momentum. You never stopped. I mean, you were focused on specific priorities that you wanted to address and to get on council. So, I mean, that really didn't change.
Well, that's why I got into this in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always an element of trying to represent your community and of trying to, improve representation, diversity, equity within politics generally.
Mm-hmm.
But I got into this to deal with particular issues, particularly snow clearing, mobility, public transit, accessibility, the affordable housing, things that affect many people's lives.
Right.
And I got into this because, in some cases I had been living through those for 14 or 15 years and never seen them dealt with. So I wanted to see that got done. And when that didn't get done, especially after last year, it's kind of, okay, well, maybe, some extra push is still necessary and maybe my voice still has a place here.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of these issues.
Sure.
Okay, so let's start with accessibility.
Sure.
I mean, it's kind of an easy word for people to toss around, but what does it really mean? And where are the barriers in your district, and what would you like to do with that?
The basic principle of it is just that no one should have their ability to access the majority or all of our city restricted by any kind of condition that we may be able to support them through. So if this means that and there are classic examples, things like curb cuts, for example, for wheelchairs, and there are things that we kind of acknowledge are integral, even if our maintenance of them is not always ideal. But we have broadly really dropped the ball on accessibility. We have a culture locally that silences the voices of activists with disabilities. We have a lot of issues that we're lagging really far behind other cities on. And there are simple solutions that I think we're able to deliver. Things like audiovisual stop announcements on the Metrobus, which is standard in most other public transit systems. Audible crosswalk signals, which were normal growing up for me in Halifax in the late 90s, early 2000s. There are things like this that we can do that I think are fairly kind of simple, but that will make massive differences, right? And what this comes from is when we're listening to advocates and activists and we're listening to community members and voices of lived experience, we're able to hear ideas and concepts and needs from them that frequently are not getting foregrounded. We had an incredible activist, Anne Malone, running in this election for Councillor-Elect, who sadly did not win, although Anne had my vote. But I'm proud to, ensure that council continues to push forward on these things.
Right.
Universal design is a good thing. Universal accessibility is a good thing. I want to make sure that our city is as broadly accessible to everyone as it can be.
And one thing I've heard you talk about is that there's very much a car culture here. And there's assumption that people, have vehicles and that's what they use to get around. And, many people don't for a variety of reasons. So public transportation has definitely been a priority on your, as part of your campaign.
Absolutely, yes. Public transit. Yeah, I've been a Metrobus user since moving here in 2008, and I've witnessed some of the inequities, but also just some of the bad design, frankly, in this system for a long time. It's not something that I can fix alone, of course, but it's something where I'm seeing an appetite over time to improve the service, expand the service areas, ensure that, even though we have a city that is marked out by considerable urban sprawl, that has a real reliance on cars, if you have an area of this city that is a part of it, then you should be able to get there by public transit. Yeah. The fact that Southlands out in Ward 5 is not accessible by Metrobus, the fact that there are so many areas where we've taken the bus out or we never bothered to extend it that can be really challenging to access. So I think if we're expanding those things in one way or another, then that's certainly pretty significant.
And so it's really about going to you. Like I would think. Talk to users or people who want to be users of the bus system and say, why is this not working for you? I know, for example, my teenagers, to get from Airport Heights to the Avalon Mall takes an hour. There must be ways to improve the system to make it more effective and efficient. And, that's not always about more money. That's just about changing the way we do things.
It is, and we've looked at different ways of doing this. We've talked in the community, for instance, about the introduction of a hub and spoke system, which might reduce transit times, which could improve reliability. I had a piece on microtransit in my platform, which has been implemented really successfully in a number of other regions of Canada. York Regional Transit, for instance, has it, which would be essentially that there's a fleet of more nimble city vehicles that are able to cover areas that to which the fixed route buses don't go, which is comparatively low cost. You book the trips yourself, most likely through an app that the city would manage, and that would really expand our ability to cover those things, especially if some of the vehicles that we purchased were wheelchair accessible vans, which could be really remarkable. And that's, the 60-minute travel time from Airport Heights. I used to live in Kenmount Terrace, actually within sight of where we're filming this, and I lived there during the bus strike of 2010, 2011. And I remember walking back and forth from Memorial sometimes, and to walk from Munn to my house was slightly over an hour, but to get the bus was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you think about walking up Kenmount Road, especially in kind of questionable weather, me in probably really impractical shoes, it was not. The circumstances were not ideal, and I think if we can do something to get some of those get the travel times down, get the service running more efficiently and effectively, make sure everything is on time, and make it more accessible, then we're in good shape.
And so we've seen some real changes in that downtown kind of core, the older part of the city. And one of the things I've heard people talk about is the up-and-coming neighborhoods where people are moving in, doing major renovations. It's also changing the taxes and, actually creating some challenges for people. So, obviously we want the community to be, always being renewed and that sort of thing. But, how do we find that balance between the people who have been living downtown, for probably most of their lives versus these, the new renovations and the impacts on how that affects people?
Well, I think it's important to remember, when we're talking about this kind of stuff, and I'm trying to avoid using words like gentrification here, but the fact is that when you have an area that is going through renewal, it's really important to ensure that anyone who's been living there for a long time and still has the same access financially as well to services and so on that were there the whole time. I used to live on Hamilton Avenue and worked at the bottom of Hamilton Avenue for quite some time. That area has seen the loss of numerous community resources, things like corner stores, as other parts of it have been developed a little bit more aggressively, where maybe there are some remarkable new businesses there, but where the prices are considerably higher. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. Affordability is extraordinarily important, and so is having that kind of mutual respect and being able to share that space effectively. At the same time as all that, I think you will see more of this in the future. Not so much necessarily in terms of anything class-based or renewal-focused, but we have got to look at infill development, and the city has identified a number of areas that will be fantastic for intensification. If we do this, we can bring services closer to people, we can bring people closer together, we can reduce sprawl, reduce cost for the city, and ultimately that will reduce people's taxes. So, you can look at this from any perspective, but ultimately that is kind of a good thing.
Another thing is those big vacant buildings, that are around town. Not only are they an eyesore in many circumstances, it's unused space.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we have. The unused space is obviously an issue. Whether if it's a residential space, we have a number of vacancies, for instance, at CSJ Housing over time. And, I've proposed some stuff that we can do to hopefully try and mitigate some of that. Yeah. Although affordable housing we're in crisis with that as well. And we really, frankly, need to build a lot more units and ensure that they're rented out in an equitable way. In terms of other vacant buildings, I had proposed in my platform, and we'll be looking to push this over the next few years, a progressive reduction in the vacancy allowance that's given to commercial landlords. We had this blended tax program that was introduced within the last 10 years. As a consequence, there's this massive allowance which is available for people who are sitting on vacant buildings, and unfortunately, that has probably exacerbated this issue. So I'm happy to try and knock some of that down. We have fantastic organizations in our community like Quadrangle who are looking for a physical space in which they can meet, and we have lots of spaces that ought to be available but are not. Yeah. And hopefully this will incentivize making some of them available, affordable, accessible, and make them workable for folks to rent. And hopefully that can help make our community that much more vibrant.
So, I mean, I can't wait to see you in Chambers. When do you officially get sworn in? When does it all start?
Tuesday the 12th.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Ophelia.
Anytime.
I know we'll have you back again.
Thank you.
So many important issues to discuss.
Thanks, Lynn.
And we'll be right back after these messages.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
Well, if you've been missing hockey over the last 20 months and you're looking for that live action, our guest tonight has some great news for you. Welcome, Glenn. So great to have you back on Out of the Fog.
I'll appreciate inviting me. Thank you.
So, I have to start with this. 30 years ago, St. John's Maple Leafs. Was this the career path you saw ahead?
No, absolutely not. It was interesting. Dave Andrews, who was the president of the American Hockey League 30 years ago, was actually general manager of the Cape Breton Oilers, and he had called me this week to remind me that 30 years ago we were starting our training camp. Him for the Cape Breton Oilers and me for the St. John's Maple Leafs. So, yeah, I don't think I'd be lying to you to say that 30 years later I'd still be in the hockey business, but at the same time, to be honest with you, very fortunate to be still around the sports and entertainment industry. It's a wonderful industry to be involved in, and still passionate about it. Still gets me up in the morning and gets me to work. So hopefully I get another 30 years out of it. It'd be perfect.
Fantastic. And there's a lot of support for professional hockey here. People come out to see it. They want to see it, and there's a lot of community support behind it. I mean, has that been? I know that's been your experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right from the St. John's Maple Leafs back at the Old Memorial Stadium in '91. Sold out for the most part, and then when we, transferred down to Mile 1 in 2000 and continued with the Maple Leafs, and then the Fog Devils had a time there with junior hockey, and then of course St. John's Ice Caps came back in 2011 for 6 years, American Hockey League, and now with the Newfoundland Growlers in the ECHL. So. This is a wonderful town. This is a sports and entertainment town. They love their hockey. They love watching hockey on TV. They love watching it live, and we just can't wait to get back into the building. Yeah.
So when do the Growlers get back in the building? Let's talk about that. I mean, it's been this long period of time now without live hockey, people in the stands. How's the organization feeling? I mean, it just must be so energized.
Well, it is. I mean, it's, we're like everybody else over the last 20 months or so, cooped up in your houses, and we're all tired of Zoom calls, and we're all tired of, not having that interaction with people live. And so we actually start on November the 5th as our home opener. We actually start on the road. Okay. We put our team on the road back in February when we didn't know how things were going to be, and we thought we might be safe just to put them on the road for a week or two. Yeah. So we actually start our season in Trois-Rivières, which is actually the other club, one of the other two clubs that we own in the ECHL. And so November 5th, we play Adirondack, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So as you said, can't wait to get back at it.
And of course, here with Rogers Television, there's still that partnership opportunity. So, we'll help, bring that to people at home as well.
Well, it's interesting. They've been, it's 30 years that they've been involved with us right from day one. Yeah. Back in Dean McDonald and Ken Marshall's days, and a lot of people, some are still in the studio, are still the same guys that have been around 30 years ago. So it's in the control room, I should say. But it's been a wonderful partnership with Rogers. They've been as as big as part of hockey, not just in Newfoundland, but what Rogers do nationally with their hockey program is fantastic.
And so you've got a new coach, new assistant coach this year. So maybe tell us about them.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. You know, a new coach, Eric Wellwood, and Nathan McKeever is our assistant. He's from PEI, so we get an Eastern boy. Eric is from Ontario and came out of the Ontario Junior Hockey League, and that's really the cycle of when you're at this level. You know, we were at the ECHL, the AHL is the next level up, and of course then it's the NHL. You know, you see these, you know, movement every 2 or 3 years, and that's what this league is all about. It's not just trying to move players up to the American Hockey League and to the National Hockey League. We move coaches up, and we move front office staff up. Yeah. And so John Snowden was our coach here for 3 years. He's now gone as the assistant coach for the Toronto Marlies. And Darryl Williams, who was in the National Hockey League for a long time, has gone with the Philadelphia Flyers. And then we get 2 new coaches in here with different ideas and new blood, and start the cycle over again.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's interesting to see that, you know, often the players and the coaches, you know, they kind of become our own when they're here. You know, they really become a part of the community themselves.
Well, a lot of them, you're exactly right. I mean, Todd Skirving is a player that's been with us only 3 years, and if he's probably more Newfoundland than he is Ontario from where he's from. He just he loves it. But you're right. I mean, the people take the players in. They treat them as their own. When they move up to either the American Hockey League or the National Hockey League, they say, well, he's from here. And no, he's not from here. He played here. So you're right. I mean, our community does a wonderful wonderful job of you know, taking these players in, treating them like their own, and treating them like you know, good community people, and it's been going on for 30 years, and hopefully it'll continue.
Excellent. So what about some of the hockey players that are going to be returning? You know, what are they saying to you, or what are you hearing from them?
Well, I mean, listen, we've done a good job over 30 years of having a great reputation in the hockey world. Yeah. And one of the reasons why we did it is exactly what we just talked about, is that people love coming here. And let's not kid ourselves, to attract people, to attract hockey players to come to Newfoundland with the travel that we do, with the weather that we have, though it's been pretty good this summer, it's difficult to do that. And then, so what you had to do here is all those little things that go above and beyond what normal teams would do. And that's what we do here in Newfoundland, and that's what we've done over the last 30 years. And our reputation in the hockey world has been unbelievable. So attracting the players to come, they're all excited. They're all up in Toronto right now. They'll start to, there's 4 players actually coming in tonight. The rest of the players will be here Tuesday or Wednesday. We start camp on Wednesday. You know, we've got you know, 4 Newfoundlanders will be on the team. James Melendi, who was our captain, is coming back. Zach O'Brien, who was the MVP when we won the championship a couple of years ago, is back. Marcus Power is back. And we've signed Nathan Knoll, who was also a St. John's boy who played in the American Hockey League for a number of years. So we got 4 local talent, along with the players that we'll receive from the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it's going to be hopefully another exciting season.
Fantastic. And so what are you hearing about, with particularly within the organization, about the extra efforts around COVID and protecting the players and, you know, protecting the visitors? I mean, I would think there's a lot of logistics involved in kind of keeping everybody healthy and safe, you know, around.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right, Lynn. You should have seen the manual that came across my desk yesterday.
I can imagine.
From the ECHL, which was titled COVID Protocols. And then, and we do, like everybody else, we're making sure that, at least from a team perspective, the protocols that we got to follow around the dressing room, who's allowed in the dressing room, how many times you got to get tested if you're around players. That includes me as an individual, our staff people. There's daily protocols that we have to go through to ensure the safety of our players. And then obviously with Mile 1, the building that we play in, you know, fans are going to have to be double vaccinated. They're going to have to wear their mask when they come into the building. So, you know, both ourselves and our partners at Mile 1 will do everything that we're told to do and that we have to do in order to make sure that that the atmosphere and the surroundings are safe for everybody.
And I know, you know, the community loves seeing the Growlers, you know, out as part of events. I'm sure that the players are going to be eager to get out and do some of those sorts of, you know, community connected things too.
Yeah, and they love doing that. And it's you know, we say that to the players when we come in, when they come in here at the beginning, when we talk to them in training camp. We're more than just a hockey team.
Yeah.
We're part of the community.
Yeah.
You're expected to go out and make school appearances and community visits and deal with minor hockey teams and go to practices and things of that nature. And the nice thing about it, Lynn, to be honest with you, is we don't have to tell them to do it. To be quite honest with you, they just love doing it.
Well, it's part of the culture.
It's part of the culture, and they love doing it. And a lot of them come here. They're younger kids in some cases, and they're in their early 20s, and we practice from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, what else are they going to do with their day? And then so a lot of them, come to us and ask us to, if we don't have anything on, is there something that they can do? And it's just been a wonderful. It's been a wonderful partnership over the years with hockey and the community in St. John's and our outreach program through the Lease Foundation, through the Ice Caps Care Foundation, through Growlers Give. As we said, we're more than just a hockey team.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It was so good to see you again, Glenn.
Nice to see you as well, Lynn. Thank you.
And we'll be right back after these messages.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
And that's it, our first show in the 20th season of Out of the Fog. Thanks so much to my guests tonight, Joe Dominix, Ophelia Ravencroft, and Glenn Stanford. If you'd like to contribute to Jason Piercy's GoFundMe initiative, you can check out GoFundMe.com or go right to our Out of the Fog Facebook page. I know you're looking forward to getting back in the seats at Mile 1. So just check out the Growlers Facebook page to find out about upcoming home games. There's lots of chatter around here at Rogers Television about what we can do to celebrate 20 years of Out of the Fog. So make sure to stay tuned Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. Thanks so much for joining us. Stay safe.
If you have a comment about